Amber Rose. I am so excited to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So many things that I want to say. I'm going to try to shut up. But the first thing that I want to say is I was so empathetic watching you at the RNC because, first and foremost, your speech was amazing. And I think everybody agreed that your speech was amazing. But I knew what was going to follow immediately after, which was sort of this purity test because I had lived it before. So I was in your shoes. I guess now it's been like 8, 9 years ago. And I just realized that everything I was being told was a lie. And it was specifically started on the BLM stuff, like on the Black America stuff. And that's all I said. And then my remarks went viral. I was being invited to all these places and I wasn't ready to then have my feet held to the fire about every single position. Well, what has she ever said about
Right.
pro-life? What has she ever said about this? Like, is she actually a conservative? I'm like, guys, I'm just saying what I believe in my heart to be true. And now you're trying to put me through a test.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened to you thereafter.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question I just want to ask you is, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful.
You're good.
Yeah. This isn't the first time I've been canceled or viral or trending on Twitter. I've been down this road several times throughout the years. So it's kind of just like, I mean, I slept like a baby this whole week. So
I'm so glad to hear that. So
yeah.
how were you feeling, I guess, leading up to the speech? Because that's a huge honor
hmm
to be speaking in front of the former president and likely future president of the United States.
Right.
How were you feeling leading up to the speech and immediately following it?
So I wrote my speech with one of the writers that works for Trump, right? I told them everything that I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to talk about the border. I didn't want to talk about all that stuff. I wanted to just keep it like, I'm a mom. I want to talk about the economy, inflation, things like that. My story, how I came over to this side. And they wrote something up, and then I kind of put it into my own words, and that's what everyone saw at the RNC. But I I will say, Candace, I did not think anyone would care. I'll be honest with you. I was just like, there's so many speakers going up. No one knows me in the political world. I'm going to go there. And honestly, the whole day before I spoke, maybe there was like some young girls that were like my fans and stuff that wanted pictures. But other than that, no one, really knew who I was there. And right after that speech, boy, I must have taken like 3,000 pictures in 4 days.
Wow.
I
Wow.
promise you, it was like from the morning into the night, downstairs in the hotel, outside at the RNC, walking to the RNC, because they had everything blocked off and stuff. Um, it definitely changed my life. But I don't know, for me, I'm like, I'm just a girl from Philly. Why does anyone care? And then I go online and everyone's like, she's irrelevant. No one cares about what she has to say. No one gives a and then I'm like, okay, well, no one gives a let me just go on stage and just say how I feel. And then people give a and I'm like, but I thought they weren't going to give a
Yeah.
So that's what I battle with every time I do something like that.
Well, I knew it was going to be huge for a couple of reasons. The first, and I saw this happening as soon as you put on the MAGA hat, and there was a clip of you, TMZ was basically chasing you, trying to pigeonhole you of like, wait, you belong to us. Like you're on the left. You're the girl from the SlutWalk. And
Right.
I know how proprietary Hollywood gets about if you're in Hollywood, if we've ever promoted you, if we ever put you on a magazine cover, you get in line with these beliefs. These are your political beliefs and you can't change. So I knew hitting the RNC stage, which is such a pendulum swing, they were not going to have that. And then I knew that conservatives, I just don't think that they have thought through the differences. Not all conservatives have thought through the differences between what it means to be a conservative, what it means to be a Republican,
Right.
and what it means to be a Christian. And
Mhm.
they were holding you to a test of, is she a Republican conservative Christian? And the reality is tons of people can and do vote Republican who are not Christians,
Right.
who are not even necessarily fully conservatives. They're
Right.
like gay married men.
Mhm.
And they vote because they prioritize the economy over their gay
I also
identity.
don't think Donald Trump is very conservative.
Interesting.
I-
In what ways?
He's pro-choice. I don't think that's very conservative.
It's definitely not Christian. So people can say you're fiscally conservative, and this kind of gets into it. Like there needs
Right.
to be a thorough conversation about what it means to be a Republican versus a conservative versus a Christian, and we haven't had that. And I knew that your feet were going to be held to the fire. Was there any comments that, before we get into like your background and how you ended up there,
Sure.
that impacted you or that you felt upset about that came at you, or were you just like, I'm good?
Well, I'll be honest with you, the Matt Walsh stuff, it didn't really bother me, but it did, you know, religious people like that is why I went on my atheist journey. And so I was a Christian my whole life. I used to go to my mom still goes to church 7 days a week. I used to go to church with my mom all the time. But I used to run into people like him often. And so for me, it made me just get turned off by the church, and then in turn kind of go on a spiritual journey. I was looking into Buddhism, I was looking into Islam, which was extremely far-fetched for me. Um, and then I landed on atheism because I just never felt comfortable on that side. But I will say besides that, um, when I showed up at the RNC, there was a lot of white men in suits. And so I can understand why maybe a person of color or somebody that comes from the left would be intimidated by that, because that's maybe not necessarily the norm that we're used to being around. But after I did that speech, Candace, I spoke to so many people, or they were coming up to me telling me their stories, right? And these are guys that look like they come from generational wealth.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh no, I came from nothing. I just worked my way up and I figured it out." Or one of the other guys was like, "My dad's in prison for murder." I mean, you would think this guy was like had a billionaire daddy. He was like, "No, my dad's in prison for murder. Um, my sister died of fentanyl poisoning. My brother died in the opioid crisis." And so it just, I still had that remnants left of the left in my head, where I have to admit, when I walked in there, I'm like, "Oh my God, they're gonna hate me, or they're from a different world." And when I started talking to them, I'm like, we're actually all going through the same thing in America right now. And you can't just judge a book by its cover, because I don't want people to judge me. I'm actually a sweetheart. I'm not a crazy person or anything like that. But yeah, it was really sad. A lot of people are going through a lot, and thank you, for telling your stories, everyone at the RNC, and and sorry for your loss, because people lost a lot of people um, to fentanyl mostly. So
And it's interesting that you say that, because one of the things I always say to my cousin, she does my hair, and we talk about this a lot. I'm like, if only people in the hood knew that the rednecks, them are the exact same people.
yeah, for
They're the
sure.
exact same people.
Yeah,
And yet the media will have you thinking like, oh, the rednecks hate black people. I'm like,
yeah.
it is actually, as soon as you get around now, I'm like, they're exactly the same people flipped. And some of the best people I've ever met, actually, I will say the best people I ever met, are just from down here in the South, because they have the right values. Like, they family and faith. And faith is a big component of it. And I know what you mean when you say that you feel, and it makes me sad to hear that, because I've heard it many times, that Christians can be really judgmental, or
Mhm.
if you felt that, because the reality is that there were so many other Christians who were not saying that. And I messaged Matt immediately, because I actually know Matt Walsh very well. I've worked with him for years. He's actually an amazing person. And I just felt that,
I was actually following him on Instagram,
were you?
and I unfollowed him after I saw that
Oh
tweet.
my, see, I
I didn't
feel
know
like
much about
I
him, but
want
I
to get
saw
you
other
guys.
people following him, so
Mm.
I was just trying to find a community of people, and I unfollowed him. I'm like, "Oh, I guess he doesn't like me." So,
And that is so, like,
yeah.
honestly, the tweet was ill representative of who Matt Walsh is, and his wife is amazing. I think what he was trying to say didn't come across the right way, because I immediately texted him, and I was just like, "Wait, Matt, I think that like you have this wrong." And I think what he was trying to say, and I hope I don't sound like I'm like an apologist for Matt Walsh, but obviously, like, and I might be being a little Catholic gang here, but I think what he was trying to say was something about the RNC and like what they're prioritizing. But I actually even disagree with that point too, because I think that, again, speaking to like what the RNC should be trying to do ahead of an election, is basically saying, these are the things that we are offering, like a better economy, this, that, but these are the lies that are told about the RNC. Like, the people believe that Donald Trump is this.
Yeah.
And I think a part of that is kind of trying to disillusion people. And so I wish you guys, and I hope you will, and the opportunity to have a moment to speak, because I promise you, like, it's not who he is. He's like a really good dude. And
I know, I'm good though.
yeah, I know, I feel it. I know, I get it. But I'm glad that so many other people like responded.
Yeah, I had
in
a
a
lot
way.
of DMs of, people saying that they're gonna pray for me, that like nice Christians.
I promise he's a nice Christian. I promise he is. That I think it came out the wrong way. But yeah, Matt does so much charity for Christians, and he's fought on a lot of causes. And again, I don't want to sound like a Matt apologist, but I get it. I totally get how you feel about
I
the
just
situation.
think it's more so like when he's like, the slut walk, fine. The rappers part, what's so funny, Candace, I've only been in relationships my whole career. And I've been pitching, like, do you know in Hollywood, if you are at the same restaurant as someone, they will put it on the news that you're together. You're not at the same table. You don't know them. They're with their family. You're with your family. And they'll say we're at the hotel or the restaurant at the same exact time. This is what they have done to me throughout the years. Okay. So I get it. I understand. This is why I'm doing this interview. I understand why he's like, she just rappers, or she just does this. And even my slut walk, I was really, really proud of it. I hate what it turned into. I hated the name SlutWalk. I hate it when girls, which sounds very hypocritical, had to leave the slut walk dressed like that, which was the whole point. Like, don't touch me because I'm dressed like this, still respect me because I'm dressed like a slut. But then when they would leave, I'd be like, this is my responsibility. I brought them here, but now I don't want them to go get hurt. But that was the whole damn point of the slut walk, where I'm not making a change. I'm not making any change for any women right now, because I really want them to go put on a blanket and walk home and go be safe and cover up.
Hope you guys are enjoying this conversation. I'm interrupting only briefly to speak to you about something very important. The recent reports regarding Planned Parenthood show us that they continue to rake in billions despite dwindling clients. The biggest takeaway is that Planned Parenthood is generating vast profits, including millions in taxpayer funding. But with Preborn, that's you and me, we are actively given the opportunity to steal away their clientele, meaning the babies that they are trying to kill. Preborn operates on a very slim budget, rescuing over 200 babies' lives every day with no government funding. Preborn's network of clinics are situated in the darkest corners of the nation, competing head-to-head with the abortion giants, and they need our help now more than ever. When you donate just $28 to Preborn, you will offer a free ultrasound to an expectant mother that is caught in a crisis. Once she hears that heartbeat and sees that precious life, her baby's chance at life doubles. So sponsor a precious baby's life today. Your tax-deductible gift will go directly towards saving babies' lives. You just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. I actually want to talk about the slut walk, and that's a great place because we can actually talk about your history and some of the judgment that was thrown at you. And I do want to say this because I have tried to communicate this to people who just cannot understand why I have any sort of a semblance of a relationship with Tristan Tate and Andrew Tate, and they're very big. And I just get it. I think one of the things that happens a lot, and I always talk about Ali Stuckey, who's this Christian podcaster. She's amazing. She's lovely. She's basically like what you want your daughter to be. Like everything turned out right. She came from a stable family, 2 Christian parents. She like loves the Lord. And then you have someone like Andrew Tate, and her and him maybe have said things about each other. But I always say to people, with the way that my life was, how my life started, I would have never listened to Ali Stuckey. Like, I would have never in a million years listened to an Ali Stuckey podcast before I listened to an Andrew Tate podcast. Do you get what I mean? Because it wasn't, which is, I'm saying this quite ironically, it wasn't relatable. That's the name of her podcast. It wasn't relatable because I'm like, okay, you're a girl where I hope one day that I could raise kids like that. But I'm going to listen to someone who I just feel understands things like that I've lived through. You know what I mean? And it's not easy to be guided down the right path or to end up at faith immediately. And I think that's why an entire generation of kids who didn't grow up with 2 parents in the home would rather listen to an Andrew Tate And the conservative movement does not always understand that. And I think that that's not a good thing. And that's why I loved when I heard you just say what you believe, because I'm like, if that, because I believed that you believed it.
Right.
And I'm like, great. Now we invite her in and talk to her about where she's been and what made her wake up. So starting with the slut walk, because I was frantically against the slut walk, talked about it many times in my old show. I'm going to just,
I know, I remember.
oh, I was like, I was anti slut walk because I felt that women were being used to actually make things harder for women. So I'm going to show you just like a cut here for the audience for a clip of just some slut walk footage. You're not in any of this footage, but I just so people know what it is.
Okay.
I'm a porn star. My name is Lily Cade. I'm here today because just because I am a slut doesn't mean you can rape me.
I am who I am. If you don't like it, you.
The word slut should be reclaimed because sex is just something that's fun and something that's natural that we do. We're here to support women's rights and to choose what they want to do, and they're not asking for it just because they're dressing like this or however they choose to dress.
Every time someone tried to call me a slut when I was younger, I was like, no, I'm not a slut, I'm not a whore, I'm not all that. Finally, my 18th birthday comes around, so I'm like, it, I can do what I want now. I don't have to say I'm not a slut. Dick or veg, don't care.
So when you see that, and I will, granted, look, end of it's funny-ish.
It is funny. Yeah.
How does it make you feel?
A part of it I am not proud of. Another part of it I agree with. And the part that I do agree with is that there are a lot of girls in high school or college, right, young girls, that are literally called derogatory names for no reason at all. They're not even doing anything. I was one of those girls. I was a late bloomer. My kids are 11 and 4. I have friends that have like 25-year-olds. So, you know, I do think that sometimes that is an issue where you bully girls because you're insecure, or maybe she might like another boy or something like that. So that was one piece in there, if I'm not mistaken, where the girl said that, but then she said dick or vag or whatever, who cares, or something like that. That's the only thing I still do agree with, but the other stuff I just, and you know what, Candace, too, listen, when it comes to sex workers, I'm still for sex workers. And when I say that, I mean that I understand it's not easy to just say, stop. Don't do this anymore. You're better than this, right? We can all say that all day, but there has to be a solution for why they should stop, you know, or maybe the money that they did make through sex work, or the umbrella of sex work, like stripping and stuff, which is not actually sex, and create businesses for themselves or something like that, you know? So I have empathy for women like that, because I was that girl. My dreams and aspirations in life were not to be a dancer. But I grew up poor, and my mom had mental health issues, and, you know, we were homeless when I was really young. And my neighborhood was drug dealers and strippers, you know? So that was my lifelong dream. And then when I became famous, everyone just pointed the finger at me and was like, you used to be a stripper. We remember you, you know? And then that made like the whole internet and stuff. And then I had to just live with that. And over time, I embraced it with my slut walk, because it was the only way to survive. I was like in survival mode, because initially I'm like, hey guys, I grew up poor, and they're like, shut up, you were a stripper, shut up, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, no one cares why. So what else is there left for me to do? I have to just own it, which I think is what Cardi B does often. She has to own it and act like we all have to act like we love it.
See, this is very interesting. So for those who were not introduced to Amber Rose before the RNC, Amber Rose was introduced to the world because you were dating Kanye West.
Yes,
and it
15
was
years ago.
15 years ago, and it became this big thing. Kanye West is dating a stripper, and suddenly you became famous, like basically overnight.
Yeah.
Well,
he didn't know that I was a stripper at all.
Oh,
when he met me.
I didn't know this.
So the misconception is that he met me at the strip club.
I thought that my whole life until right now.
No, he never met me at the strip club. I was actually a model. I was signed with Ford Models. I got booked for a music video called RoboCop on 808 and Heartbreaks.
Okay.
Although that album is not about me. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is about me. That's also another misconception. That's about his ex-fiance. So I got booked for a job, and then we fell in love, and we were together for like 2 years.
Yeah.
It was a good time, and it was a great time in pop culture, and we really did have a lot of fun for a long time. But yes, he did not meet me in the strip club. So when me and him started to get to know each other, I was like, hey, I just want to be honest, because I could tell that we had feelings for each other. I am actually a dancer back in the Bronx. I lived in the Bronx at the time. Funny, me and Cardi worked at the same spot, just different times because I'm older than her.
Oh.
And he was like, I don't care. I just want to be with you. I don't even care that you were a dancer. That doesn't even bother me, you know? And he was really great about it. He just really didn't care because I felt like he just knew my heart. He knew who I was as a person. So yeah, so go ahead. But that's how it
I'm
all
so glad you
started.
clarified that. And so you, which is really funny because you got branded as a stripper. When he met you, you weren't even stripping, but I guess
I was stripping, but he didn't know that I was a stripper.
he didn't know you were a stripper.
So I was a model, but I wasn't a Bella Hadid. I wasn't a famous model. I just happened to be signed to a big agency, but I wasn't getting a lot of work like that. So I still had to dance and money back to my mom in Philly, you know, my family. So that's why I was still dancing in the Bronx. But he didn't meet me there. He met me because I booked his music video.
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So this is literally a case of just, I guess, misconceptions in the media.
No,
'cause
just people pulling stories out of their ass and throwing it on the internet, and then everyone believes it.
I think people can be really, I don't know, I guess, unforgiving of circumstances they can never imagine themselves to be in. So you kind of hear this when they find out, like, in someone's history, like, this person sold drugs, or, you know, this person was a stripper, or did anything that was, to them, obviously, we look at these things and we're like, this is not a good career to go into, but they don't understand what it means when your back is against the wall and what you would do. And it's unfortunate that the sex industry is fast money for people that need it and who don't come from these circumstances. It's very unfortunate. And I'm glad you actually brought up Cardi B, because so much in the media has made it seem like I am an enemy of Cardi B. And I feel like I'm actually the only person that ever believed in Cardi B and who truly believed in her, meaning that she could break out of this stripper stereotype. So I was introduced to her because my cousin like made me watch Love and Hip Hop, and she was a star. There's no question about it. I had never watched Love and Hip Hop in my life. Her and Ray J, I just thought they were both like very entertaining in this way. And what was so enjoyable about her was she was very self-deprecating. She was just like, I want to work hard and I'm going to make it and I believe in myself. But she would kind of, you know, point to the things that weren't right about herself in the same way, and that it was very endearing. And then she kind of makes it when everyone's telling her she's not going to, and she makes some music, and I can't remember what her, was it Bodak Yellow that went viral for the first time, and suddenly she's in Hollywood and she got tons of followers because people liked her personality. But then I felt like, okay, now she's gonna move on from the stripper stereotype. She doesn't have to be that anymore. Like her music is boppy. The people love her not because she's a stripper. And actually, what I felt the industry did was they tried to turn her into like the ultimate stripper. They were like, no, you're still, you have to be the stripper.
No, babe, it's not her fault. They don't let you. They don't let you move forward. I think this is why, like, I'm 40 now, and this is why I don't give a anymore. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna speak at the RNC. I'm gonna speak at my on my Instagram. I'm gonna say how I feel about things, and I'm not gonna hold back anymore, because the industry does do that to women, especially women that come from nothing, like somebody like me and Cardi B. They intimidate you with the fact that you'll eventually be back there with nothing. And that's how it's been for the 15 years that I've been famous. And so it's like, you have to do this. You have to twerk on Instagram. You have to go viral. You know, if the more followers you get, the more endorsement deals you get, which in turn gives you more money to support your family.
Who specifically is giving you that directive?
It's everyone. It's everyone out there, because it became a culture. So now, and again, I don't know Cardi personally, but I'm just looking from the outside in because I lived it already. I think that her team is probably saying, look at this other female rapper. Look what she's doing. Oh, she just went viral doing that. So now you got to do something, you know, raise the bar and do something else. And so it becomes an intimidation tactic where you feel anxiety that like it may be over for you in a second. And so even when me and Kanye broke up, I'll never forget it. I mean, obviously so many years ago, but they were like, your 15 minutes is up. It's over for you. It's done. You're never going to work in Hollywood again. This is like the internet and just people. Um, I couldn't get a publicist. Nobody wanted to work with me. And I was like, maybe they're right, but I just persevered and I managed myself for a few years and I did it by myself. And that first year, I made my first $1 million in 2011, by myself, you know? And so, but even then it's like, you go this way a little bit and you're happy and you're just like, "Oh, I'm finally getting out of this bullshit." And then it's like, hey, do you want, I don't know, $1 million to sign up to OnlyFans? There's a pandemic, everyone might die, you know, you can't really work and travel anywhere unless you want to get a vaccine. So is this what you want? You're like,
And you're just thinking in your head, like, this money could be gone. Like, what am I gonna do after this? This could be the last check that I get.
yeah, so it's everywhere. The degeneracy is everywhere. So you're surrounded by that. And I was telling you on the phone how like, I posted that bikini pic like 3 weeks ago. I've since like archived it on my page, but I dropped a coin, a crypto coin called Mava, which is great. Everyone go get the Mava coin. But I still fell into it, Candace, because I was telling my team, like, guys, they're like, well, Iggy Azalea's coin was doing really good and she has her hands on her ass and she's like spreading her ass cheeks and like, you gotta at least do a bikini picture with maybe like the Make America Great hat and you wanna make money, you want your coin to go up, like, you know, and so I'm like, fine, let me go in the backyard by the pool and just do it. So I still battle with those things, Candace. I don't want to get beat up by the Republicans. I'm already getting beat up enough by the left.
You're basically,
Give me a break.
You're in political purgatory. It's the
Yeah,
worst. Because
for
when you
sure.
leave, you're like, I've escaped. Then when you arrive, you're like, whoa, whoa, hold up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I'm not perfect. I'm getting everything wrong, and you're being screamed at by the right. And it sucks. It really sucks because I can just sense, I'm a person that goes on vibes. My team is laughing because I just get a vibe. And
Yeah.
but my vibes have always been right. And when I spoke to you, I was like, no, she means what she says, and she's going through this metamorphosis, and it's painful. Like, it is really painful to come out of that cocoon, especially, I would imagine it's 10 times worse for you because your cocoon is Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's no room. I mean, mine was hard enough just being black and being like, hey, I am like a conservative.
Oh, I'm no longer black.
No, they will
now.
take that away. I'm black my whole life, but
Okay.
they were instantly like, she's not black.
Yeah, I'm not
And
black anymore, apparently.
yeah,
So
they take that away and they
terrible.
denigrate you, but it's got to be even harder to come out of the Hollywood cocoon because the entire industry is built around really everyone has to have the same perspective. Everyone has to be the same if you want to sign the deals. I mean, I sat down with a TikToker, super young, Gen Z TikToker, and he spoke about how he was basically told, like, he wanted to do more serious and talk about real issues, stay out of it. You know, keep doing fun, stupid TikToks because if you start talking and you sound conservative, you're not going to get the sponsorships. You're not going to get the deals.
It's intimidation.
Right.
100%.
Which is crazy.
And what's crazy is that it wakes me up at night, Candace, because I have tortured myself for 15 years. I've tortured myself with this stuff, you know, and I begged and I've cried and pleaded, please reach for the stars. Even if, go talk to like maybe more conservative brands, see if they'll give me a chance. They wouldn't give me a chance, you know, because they just didn't know me. And I get it. I'm not upset. But they're like, no, this is it. This is what you're, and you know, I have a family. And so when I went out on a ledge and I posted the picture with me, Trump and Melania, that was my moment where I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done.
How did it come about? Like, in your mind, when did you decide, I'm just going to post this photo, MAGA goodbye, I'm with Donald Trump and Melania? Because that obviously became a moment on the internet.
Yeah. So my ex-husband actually told me to do it. Wiz
did.
He told me to do it. Yeah. Although he's not political at all and he's not voting, he's just doesn't want to be in that world whatsoever. You know, he's really one of my best friends. I love him so much still to this day. He's just such a great person. But I went to him and I was just like, I feel like I'm living a lie, and I feel it, and it's so much more than Trump, but just me as a person, I was just like, I'm so unhappy. You know, I'm starting to hate everyone, and I was never like that. I was always full of love, you know? And I just want to be me, and I don't know how to be me. I don't know. I don't give a shit, but I don't know how to just like bungee jump. Like once I bungee jump, I'm good. Like once I do it or like jump out the airplane, I'm done, you know? And I can forever do that. And I told him that I wanted to post a picture. He's like, Amber, post that shit. He was like, post that shit right now. You know, I'm like, for real, I should, you know? And he's like, do it. He's like, who cares? He was like, you voting for Trump? Is that what you want to do? And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of really into it, you know? And he's like, man, do that shit. And he put a battery in my back, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And out of 50,000 comments, I didn't leave one comment under my own page. I just let everybody just argue with each other, like just go crazy on each other, because I said what I said.
It is so freeing. I just remember when I had that moment, and it's funny because the world works in mysterious ways, but I was listening to Kanye West's song over and over again. The one when he came out with, gosh, I can't even think of the name of the song. He did it 300 style, where he talks about, it's gonna be a beautiful death, I'm jumping out the window. I can't think of the name of the song.
It's one of his newer songs?
No, Power, yes.
Oh, Power, yeah.
I was listening to Power on repeat because I knew, because that was kind of when Kanye got canceled, and then he came back and he talked about like really the power that has to come from within, and that end, like it's gonna be a beautiful death, I'm jumping out the window. That idea came to him from the movie 300, one of the people that was involved in that told me that. And it was all about, I mean, that whole song, he's like, FSNL and the whole cast. Like he's basically saying like goodbye to Hollywood. Like, I'm gonna be myself.
Right.
And I listened to it over and over because I knew I was just gonna be bullied every day. People were gonna call me an Uncle Tom, a coon. But I had listened to so much of Kanye's Power that I just did not care. I was like blacking out on Kanye's music.
Yeah.
And you have to, it has to be that battery pack. You have to have either the voice within yourself or behind you to be like, listen, you know what's worse? It is so much worse to live a life and not be yourself. Like that is a kind of a death, you know?
It is. I mean, I was literally like suicidal 2 years ago. And I spoke about that on Jason Lee's podcast. I just could not take it anymore. Just living in a lie. And if you look at my record, I don't argue with people online like that. I have like 2 arguments online out of 15 years of people just going in on me, you know? And so it does take a toll after a while, because you just want to scream from the rooftops like, guys, you don't know me at all. You don't know where I come from, but a part of me, and I don't know what that is inside of me, that is just like, well, you. You don't like me. I don't even want to explain to you why. Like, I don't even want to tell you like, no, like me because this is why this is like this. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather just be like, well, just unfollow me then, or talk. I don't even care, because people that actually know me love me, and I'm okay with that.
Right, and that's where it has to come from, and that's why I love that he says it's going to be a beautiful death, because it's a death of sorts, but it's very beautiful. And then once you start building, and it's a real foundation, because if every day you have to be someone you're not, your spirit, it's in conflict at all times. Like you're basically lying all the time. You're someone that you're not.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to just be yourself and just face the consequences of whatever that means, to just literally be yourself, you get to start rebuilding the blocks in your life, and you get to decide like, okay, this is now a real friend, because I'm being me and they want to be my friend. Like I am not pretending to be something because I want magazine covers. I'm not pretending to be someone I'm not because I'm trying to make money. And I think that is, and I know that you're not on your journey. I think you will get there eventually. But what brought me back to faith is like all of that wisdom is in the Bible. Like when it says like, you know, you can't serve, you know, both money and God, right? And I think that what's happened a lot in LA is people are serving money because of course, there's an anxiety that comes from like, well, what am I going to do if I'm not doing this? And it makes it harder and harder as those wheels keep spinning, and you're just the whole industry's around you and everything that you're getting offered is in the industry, you're like,
Well, it's also a gamble because I really took a gamble by posting Trump on my page and endorsing him because everyone could have been like Matt Walsh. Every single person there or anybody online, you know, that was on that side could have been like Matt Walsh. And they weren't. They were actually very receptive and loving and made me feel really accepted at the RNC. Most people did. Most people were really, really great to me and they were really nice and I appreciate them very much. But I really did, I took a gamble, you know, by doing that. But that was better than how I was living before. So that's just how I felt. I mean, I took the risk and I guess it worked, but even if it didn't, it still would have been better than before.
all right, guys, interrupting you to say, doesn't Amber Rose have really good skin? I always get people asking me the question, Candace, what do you use on your skin? And the answer is I use NIMI. I absolutely love their products for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, it's because they have good values. And like I tell you on the show all the time, you are voting with your wallet. You may not realize it, but you are. Supporting a brand that aligns with your values is what you want to do at all times if you can. Well, NIMI is one such company. They believe in faith, family, and freedom, and they stand up for real women. They don't put makeup on men, and their products are all made here in the USA. But it's better than that. I added them to my 3-step anti-aging routine, which includes my cleanser and both day and night creams for the perfect, simple daily regimen to keep my skin looking young and youthful throughout these stressful times. NIMI offers cleansers, toners, moisturizers, serums, and much more. NIMI also has a clean line, which offers high-end clean skincare products that are free from fragrance and other chemicals that may disrupt your skin's natural microbiome. And they have a special offer for my listeners. If you sign up for a subscription, you'll save 15% off on your routine and save an additional 5% using code Candace at checkout. You'll also receive a free gift on every third order. NIMI's subscription service are a great way to save big and ensure that you always have the products that you need. If you build a custom bundle, you'll save up to 20% off your routine. Don't forget to still use code Candace for an additional 5% off at checkout. So do it, guys. Visit NIMIskincare.com. That's NIMI skincare.com to elevate your routine with America's skincare company. Or you can click the link in the description below to save big on your order using code Candace today. Don't wait. So I'm a big believer that like what we're fighting today is like actual demons. I think there are tons of things that contribute to demons and it puts your soul at conflict. And so I did a show last week where I was talking about how many people in the industry, rappers, have spoken out and said that they feel like they sold their soul to the devil, like specifically that language, or that they were wrestling with demons because of what they were putting out all the time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, because we talked about Cardi B, and she sometimes has this break online and she's crying. And I can't explain to you, like my heart, I just want to hug her when I hear it.
Yeah.
But there's this tape that's out there of her having one of these moments again where she's talking about demons, and I want you to hear it.
That's kind of why I didn't want her to do this song, Shake It, or like any drill songs, because it's like these songs are activating like these demons that I killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that girl anymore. Like I just want to be a mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be that old Cardi anymore.
I'm not kidding when I say that. Like, it makes me want to cry hearing her say that.
Literally exactly how I feel. And I didn't even hear that, Candace, when we first started this interview. And I can look at Cardi and she reminds me of myself. I know I can watch what she posts. I've seen other things that she said. And I'm like, that's me all day, every day. She's done Ellen. She's done all these like late night talk shows. And I've seen them. They're like, so you were a stripper? She's like, I'm an international superstar, you know? And like, that's the first thing they go to. They do the same exact thing to me. And I can tell in her voice, I've been there, yo. I promise you, I've been there so many times. And once I set myself free and now I'm just able to just be who I want to be, whatever that is, even moving forward, she'll eventually get there. But she needs to clean house with her entire team, fire all those get brand new people in, period. People that are not gonna intimidate her, that it's gonna be over for her if she doesn't clap her ass on Instagram. I've been there. They've done that to me for years. Like, Cardi, if you are listening, like, you are special, and you don't have to do this. If you wanna be a mom, you can still be a mom, and you can still be a rapper. You don't have to be a porn rapper. You don't. Like, and I hear the stuff that she says it, and I had a slut walk. I get it. I lived it. We've done the same thing, you know?
I think, like, I want her to know that, like, and that's how I felt when I was so protective of you, like, when I saw TMZ harassing you, like, to every person, you have a right to evolve.
Absolutely.
And the second someone tries to pigeonhole you and say you're not allowed to evolve,
Yeah.
that person is literally trying to corrupt your spirit. You're not there. They don't want your spirit to flourish, and they want you to only see yourself one way.
Right.
And so when I saw that video of her crying, and there's other videos of her crying, and that is because she has children now, and she's at a different stage in her life.
Right.
She was talented not because she was a stripper. She was a star not because she was a stripper. When I was watching Crown Love and Hip Hop, I didn't care about the fact that she was a stripper. She was a star because she's a star.
Yeah.
And I feel no one in her circle is telling her that. Like, you do not have to do this at all, because you will
They're
still have
probably
fans because
not.
you're talented.
Yeah, they're probably not,
Yeah.
Candace. They've never told me. They never told me that there was another way out. Just, you know what the other way out is? Just be yourself. It's the easiest thing you can do, is really just be yourself. Because right now in Hollywood, we're all being someone else. We are our personas. And it's crazy because when people actually get to know me as a person, they're like, wow, you are really nerdy. You're not hypersexual at all. And I'm very, like, traditional in a lot of ways, you know? But life has dealt a hand sometimes, you know? And that's just how it is. But yeah, if you're just gonna be yourself, it's just the best way to go, whatever that is.
I want to talk to you about your OnlyFans account, because there was so much misinformation on the web about
Yes.
this. When everyone, after you got kicked in the head by the left, then the right came in and said, no, we're going to kick you too.
Yeah.
And look, we found her, and she's on OnlyFans, and she's literally just doing this because she wants a bunch of people to sign up to her OnlyFans.
Right.
And I was like, I feel like there's more to the story, because the girl that I just spoke to on the phone was very genuine.
Right.
So can you explain to everybody why there was an OnlyFans account? Because, of course, the people that were
was
coming at
available
you
now.
yeah, actually had not paid to see whether or not you were posting sex content or what was happening.
Yeah. Oh, so I never posted sex content. I've never done porn in my life at all. I've never been a prostitute in my life. I just posted, like, really, like, sexy pictures and stuff. Um, but funny enough, I get on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter as much as I am on Instagram, which is why I have more followers on Instagram. But I go on Twitter and I'm just like, you know, the RNC just happened, and I'm like, let me see if anyone's arguing on Twitter. And I saw that people were like, oh, she has an OnlyFans and she's available right now to talk. And I'm like, no, I don't. I haven't been on OnlyFans in 2 years. And so I called my assistant, Joe, and I'm like, Joe, why does my OnlyFans say that it's available now? That was supposed to be deleted a long time ago. I haven't given any content or anything like that. And he's like, I don't know. I call my business manager. And she's like, well, you know, we had this company that was doing all the DMs for you. And when you said you didn't want to do OnlyFans anymore, they were still doing the DMs, and you were probably, I don't want to say how much I was making a month, but she was like, you were still kind of making good money every month, and you weren't doing anything. And so I was like, you cannot do this to me. If I told you that I was done, it should have been deleted 2 years ago. I'm not an avid online OnlyFans person. I'm not going on OnlyFans to see if my account is up there. And what's crazy is actually in my bio, and I have several links in my bio, but you have to click a certain link to go to the OnlyFans link. And I'm my own person, so I don't click my own bio, you know? And it made me very upset, but I also didn't fire her because I was like, I know she was just trying to I have a lot of different streams of revenue that go into my accounts and stuff like that. And I know she was trying to look out, but I'm like, don't ever do that to me again. When I say it's over, it's over.
So you hadn't posted any new content for over a year.
2 years almost, I feel like. Yeah, it's definitely been over a year for sure.
There were residuals coming in via the DM or whatever. And so they had this service and they were like, look, the money's coming in. Like, what's the point of deleting this bank account, essentially?
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense because I was realizing, I was like, has anybody actually signed up to see if she's posting content or if she just has an old OnlyFans
no way.
account?
No, I have not did content for OnlyFans in such a long time.
Right.
So I was just as shocked as everyone else on Twitter when it was like available now on OnlyFans, and I'm like, and they put a sale up. I mean, it's embarrassing.
You do really hear a lot of this in the industry. The more that I speak to people, and it's funny because I keep going back to Kanye, but you know, he said so much to me that I couldn't even comprehend a couple of years ago about what's going on in Hollywood, and I think that he senses the demonism, and I think he really wanted out. Like, I think everyone was like, what's he doing? He's blowing up his life. I was like, no, I think he literally wants to blow up his life. He doesn't want a pathway back to Hollywood because he has seen it up close and he thinks that a lot of elements of it are demonic.
Yeah.
And the more that you speak to people in the industry, like hearing you say that there's this pressure, like if you want a book, this is what you have to do. Here's what you have to do. It does make you wonder why it gotta be like this. You know what I mean? Like,
do you
it
know
literally
how many
doesn't have to be
times
like
I've
this.
been offered a tell-all book about Kanye and my relationships or my ex-husband, and I refuse to do it, Candace. I will never, ever, ever sell out like that. And I've been offered a lot, you know, and I've taken punches because I choose to do other things instead of doing something like that. Because I feel like even if we didn't work out in a relationship, it doesn't mean that I didn't love you while we were together. So I wouldn't do that, but that's how Hollywood is. It's like, oh, you're not with so-and-so anymore. You want to write a book, you know? And I was like, bro, I'll never go out like that. Hell no. No matter what, I won't do that. But that's how it is. That's how it is in Hollywood for sure.
Yeah, and they're constantly, especially amongst women, it's all about sex. And I'm a person that I think that the contributions that the Kardashian family has made for women have been, and I'm not placing it squarely on them, but I just vividly recall a shift in culture, you know, after the Kardashian show, where I think women, I don't know, just kind of saw sex on display all the time. It was like the #1 show for a very long time, and people began to aspire, like to glorify it in a way. And that might also just be the timing of the explosion also of social media, and they kind of like I would say Kim kind of became like the queen of Instagram in many ways, and people wanted to start embodying that and holding that up as like a form of idolatry. Like, this is what we should be. Like, women should be sexy all the time. And at the same time, you had other movements that were taking place in different ways, like of this modern feminism that I hate so much.
Yeah.
Because I think that it operates, or it tries to sell itself as freedom, right? We're doing this because we're free. But in reality, women are enslaved by it because it then becomes the only contribution that you have. Like, if you want to be heard, you need to take your clothes off. Like, if you want people to listen to you, you need to take your clothes off. And I'm like, that is bondage. That's not actually freedom.
Yeah. No, I agree. Which is crazy because I think that people just thought I was just dumb or just like a dumb stripper, and they didn't know that I was going to be as well-spoken as I was at the RNC. And, you know, you're right. It's just like that, and it's unfortunate, and it's something that a lot of women in the industry are still living with. So I hope that they, I don't know, maybe see our interview together and they just say, you know what, let me just be myself, whatever that is, instead of falling into Hollywood.
Interrupting this conversation to tell you guys about 7 Weeks Coffee. If you're wondering why the name is 7 Weeks, it's because it is America's pro-life coffee company. They're on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, 1 cup of coffee at a time. And at 7 weeks of development, a baby is the size of a coffee bean, and it's the first time a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. That's why they donate 10% of every sale to support ultrasound services at pregnancy care centers across the country. 7 Weeks Coffee is launching an exciting new initiative called Drink More Coffee, Save More Lives, because they are so close to saving 5,000 lives. So if you make the commitment right now to drink 7 Weeks Coffee every morning, you'll be a part of funding the pro-life movement, plus helping to save over 5,000 lives and counting. The coffee is mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acidic, and organically farmed. What more do you want? They also support our farmers by cutting out the middlemen, which means they have an opportunity to pay farmers directly, giving them almost 300% more than fair trade requires. So use code Candace, and you'll save an additional 10%, giving you a total of 25% savings on your first order. Just go to 7weekscoffee.com and use code Candace to save 25%. 7weekscoffee.com. If you could give advice to those young women, like these women who I say are like on the whatever podcast, and I hear them and they're pretending they love what they do, and I'm like, you don't love what you do. You do not love, like I sat across from one woman who said that she can sleep with 12 men in one night, and how much money she makes, how much money she makes. And I looked at her and I just thought, I told her I was going to pray for her. Like literally, I'm going to pray for you because I know that what you are saying is not true, but you need to say it so that so you can keep doing it.
Well, yeah, she's saying it because the men that pay her want to hear that. She has to still stay within the fantasy. You know what I mean? And so like, let's say if you have an OnlyFans and stuff and you get on the whatever podcast and you're like, actually, I'm a good girl. I've never done porn in my life. I'm really smart. And like, I just kind of just talk shit to these guys to make money, but I never do anything. The guys are going to be like, I'm never paying this girl any money ever again. So you have to go on those podcasts essentially and say, yeah, I had sex with 12 guys. And like, maybe the guys are like cucks that give them money, and they like to hear things like that. And they're like, oh, you said what I wanted you to say on the whatever podcast. Now I'm going to send you $1,500. That's how those things work. I will tell you, doing SlutWalk and talking to a lot of women and sex workers, 99% of sex workers do not want to be sex workers. And that's porn, prostitution, stripping, OnlyFans, all of the above. They don't want to do it. And I'll leave the 1% for girls that want to argue with me online about how much they love porn or whatever. I've talked to thousands of girls throughout the years. Nobody wants to do that. But the problem is that, like we were saying upstairs, the feminism turned women masculine, men beta. And now what happened is that these girls have masculine energy and the guys are still beta. And the guys also tell the girls, no one's ever going to marry you. You're damaged goods. There's no redemption. You're never going to figure this out. You might as well just give up on life. And so that doesn't actually help the girls either. They're just like, well, I might as well just stay in it. No one's ever going to love me anyway. And so it's a vicious cycle. And that's why, people getting married, like marriage rates are down and divorce is up. And we just can't get along with each other.
Right. I totally agree.
Yeah.
You and I have tons of disagreements. Like I said, you're in your early phase, but
Yeah.
I was there. I vividly recall sitting across from Dave Rubin, and I hadn't had it all figured out, and I just knew I disagreed with that one thing. And I now am probably considered far right, I guess. I mean, I'm as right as I could possibly be on a lot of the issues, because it was like peeling back an onion. I was like, this isn't true. And then I was like, oh wait, this isn't true. And this is how feminism plays into this and plays into this, and this is how this plays into this. And then finally I just was like, I am a Christian that's like Bible based, and because the Bible always had the answers I was looking for. But I want to talk about some things that we disagree with, because I want people to know that this isn't an act. Like, this is not an act. You've said what you believe, and you don't, like, it's not like you're checking boxes and just saying stuff that you would expect a Christian conservative Republican to say.
Yeah.
We disagree on trans stuff, I think. Do we? I don't know.
I think we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you at on like the trans, I call it the trans agenda, the explosion of transgenderism, I guess we could say?
Yeah. So I grew up in the ballroom scene. I don't know if you know what that is in the gay trans world.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so it's like, it's mostly a lot of people at the time that their families didn't really necessarily accept them. And so they created families within that community. And they named those families different things. And they were called houses, right? And so I was in a house when I was younger. My best friend was like a gay boy. He was like 13 or whatever. And I was surrounded by actual trans people. Now, back in that day, which is the 90s, 2000s, let's say a trans girl would get an attitude with me. The other trans girls that were my friends would be like, bitch, you're a man. Don't do that to Amber. Like, you're a man, I'm a man. Me and you could fight, but you're not gonna touch her. So those are the trans women that I'm used to being around, that I grew up with, right? And it was kind of shady to call like a trans girl a man, but they would do that. So here's the thing. Am I for gender affirming care for children? Absolutely not. I think we share that same sentiment. Am I for gender affirming care for consenting adults? Absolutely. Now, do I think that a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram are actual trans people? A lot of them are not. They're cosplaying and they want to be a part of a community. They want attention. Are trans people real? Yes, they're very much real. And I think that those other people give the trans community a bad name, because they really just, and I'm sure, Candace, that you've been in the bathroom with trans people probably plenty of times, just didn't even know, because they just went to use the bathroom and no one cared and they washed their hands and they left. The problem is that there's literally grown biological men with mustaches and beards, with, shaving in the women's locker room, not even remotely close to transitioning into a trans woman. And they make women feel uncomfortable in women's spaces. I'm not for that at all, But I think like someone like Danielle, for an example, that's very far in her transition, and she has a full sex change, by the way. I think she understands that she is a biological male. But for me, I would call her she, her. I would just do that because she looks like a girl and she's so far into her transition with the breasts and the softness in the face that I wouldn't be disrespectful. Although I think she does understand that she is a biological male. So that's where I'm at with. And I'm also for gay marriage. I think the more love that we have, especially in America, because it's really the happier we would all be. So I think that, and a lot of white gay male couples adopt a lot of young Black children that grow up in foster care, because they always say that the Black boys are last to be picked. I'm a mother of 2 Black boys, and my father was also in foster care for most of his life. And I think that it gives these kids an opportunity to go to a good school and have a good life, even if it is 2 dads.
Yeah, so I think, and I disagree with a lot of that, almost all of it.
I'm sure.
Almost all of it, actually. And I think sometimes the mischaracterization is that conservatives don't view people who are trans as people. They're people. They're absolutely people. I just, in the same way that I would not, if someone who was schizophrenic told me they were Superman, I wouldn't play the role with them, because they're not
I actually
children.
agree with you with that.
Yeah, you're not a child, you're an
that
adult. So if I'm gonna play fantasy, I'm gonna play fantasy with my children who are toddlers, but I'm not gonna do it with an adult, because I think that's part of the issue, is that it's now become so commonplace, and they're basically saying, I'm the same as you and you have to pretend I'm the same as you. And I'm like, actually, you're not the same as me.
No, they're not.
And I don't want you to suffer, because I think you're already suffering. I actually believe, especially for a lot of these people, and I've sat across from multiple people that are suffering with transgenderism, and one person, especially if they're very young and they go through these procedures too young, had their entire life ruined. And he looked across from me, Brianna Ivy, and said, I just wish somebody had said to me, like, you're not this, instead of having Hollywood glamorize this and put Caitlyn Jenner on the exact same thing you're talking about. They make it look it's going to be so amazing, you're going to be so happy. And in reality, you can get on this path and you can't go backwards once you get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And he had the bottom surgery and he was like, I don't know, I found a doctor
on
TikTok.
They fast-track these young kids. They fast-track them. They cut their breast off. They give them the gender assignment surgery. I actually agree with you, Candace, when it comes to that. Trans women are not women. They're not real women, but they are trans women. And I'm okay with that term, but they are not or ever going to be biological women.
Yeah.
So,
and I think when it comes to gay marriage, and that again gets into my perception, which is so much further, like 8 years along of looking into everything. I just know that the nuclear family is what has always been under attack, and they just keep trying to stop a man and a woman coming together, getting married and having kids. Like that, if you look at every single one of these, what I would describe as leftist positions, it's always an attack on the family. Even climate change, like how did we get there? They're telling kids not to get married or have kids because the planet's going to be over in 10 years. When you think about transgenderism, they're editing their parts in a way they will never be able to have productive families. Gay marriage is obviously not a nuclear family. You cannot have children the natural way. Feminism is poisoning women's
But
perspectives
there's a
on
lot
men.
of children that need homes.
For sure, but there are a lot of nuclear family mother and fathers who would adopt them. And
But
so,
if they're
and I
not.
believe kids need, as we were talking about, they're best advantaged when they have a two-parent home, a mom and a dad. And I agree with you
I
that
agree with that.
being wardens of the state, you know, you don't want kids to be wardens of the state. I grew up with a mother who spent time in a group home. I get that too. But I just think that there's this like this purposeful attack on just that normal family structure, because when you have a normal family structure, you have virtually every advantage in life.
Yeah, I think that's an ideal situation, right? That would definitely be the ideal situation. But gay people can definitely go and help out in the foster system and adopt children and give them a better life as well. So I agree with you that that may be a more ideal situation, but I still think that two gay men can give a kid a great home and a great education.
I remember listening to this podcast, by the way, with you and Emily Ratajkowski. And she was saying, and it's just like, why are we doing this? She was talking about her son, daughter. I don't remember which one she
I'm not
has.
I think a son.
Maybe
if
a
I'm not
son.
mistaken.
And I think she was saying that she intentionally buys him like girl toys because she wants him to not think of things in terms of gender. And that is so Hollywood to me. Like, I'm like, okay, if a guy wants to go be a guy, that's what I mean about intentionally perverting stuff, because I'm just like, what is the problem? Like, my boy is so different from my girl. Do you have both sexes, boy and a girl?
I had two boys.
Two boys. Okay,
Yeah.
so you know how they are. They are like,
so I would never buy my boys girl toys, but if they were around a little girl and her toy happens to be there and my 2, 3-year-old or 4-year-old would pick it up and play with it, I wouldn't say that's for girls.
yeah.
I would just
It's
let
a
them just
toy
play.
and they're young. But I was so disturbed by that. I was just going, why is she trying to force him to be confused? Because she said something like, oh, he instantly gravitates towards the boy toys. And I'm like, no, play with the doll. I'm totally.
No, she didn't say that.
She did say this to you.
What did I say?
You just said something like, yeah, I don't remember what you said. You just were kind of like nicely agreeing, but I'm going, why are we doing this? Why do we have to corrupt? Everything's natural, everything's normal. And actually she's admitting that there's a difference here, like, because there is such a difference.
No,
Like, the
I would
boys
never do
are
that with my
wild.
boys.
Yeah, no, you weren't saying that you did it too, but she was just kind of remarking in how she's trying to tell him to play with pink stuff. And I was going, what is wrong with Hollywood? Like, why is there almost like I feel like there's a hatred for normal. Like, there's just a hatred for it. And
Yeah.
and I think it's part of the school and the education system sort of teaching us that there is something wrong with normal. And that's what I was saying to you about when you grow up, you have this perception of like the South as being backwards and racist and
Yeah, that's
people
true.
that love the Bible and like go to church, and like what we should all aspire to be is like New York and LA, and they're sipping their lattes and they're progressive. But I've now gotten to a point where I've realized that it's actually the opposite. And the people in the South that are being lied about, and this is the people that you met and that you're talking about at the RNC where you're hearing their stories, they're like the salt of the earth. Like, they are.
They were great.
amazing.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. They were really, really great people and super nice. And I didn't, growing up in Philly, I grew up in a predominantly Black city, you know, in a Black neighborhood. And so I've never really seen white people like that, that type of white people, you know.
Amber Rose has never
I'm
seen white
just saying-
people until the
No.
RNC. I know what you're saying.
My dad is white, but he's, you know, and that's the thing too. East Coast white people are very different than down South white people, you know, because they're more like darker white, like Italians, Greeks and stuff up on the East Coast and stuff like that. It's a different type of white, Candace. I know you know what I'm
I
saying.
know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, cool. So like these guys were like super white, like blonde hair, blue eyed, like white people.
I'm totally cutting that for the internet. Like white people.
You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean.
I'm not saying it like that, but I will say that, again, we all have the same problems. We all have family members on drugs. We all have problems within our families and turmoil and stories to tell, you know? And so we're all kind of in the same boat as far as that goes.
Yeah. You're I know exactly what you mean, and it is surprising. And I just want to say this because I know that so many Christians already reached out to you and have said this and that they're praying for you. Me and my husband are literally praying for you because I just have a feeling it's a vibe. My team again will make fun of me because I'm a vibe girl.
Okay,
But
vibe
I
girl.
just think that God, even though you're saying you're an atheist, there's no such thing as an atheist. There are different churches and at some point, I think your faith was in Hollywood and it just converted away from God to something else. And it becomes feminism, it becomes climatism, whatever it is. I think that this moment, because I've been feeling the Holy Spirit moving, Russell Brand being drawn, like this is a guy who was in Hollywood, who is now praying the rosary every day. And I spoke to him and he just said he just felt something moving and he realized, and he's so well positioned to speak about it because he came from Hollywood and he was an addict and they loved him when he was an addict. And then
Oh,
he
yeah,
cleaned up
'cause he
his
was
life.
funny.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
he cleaned up his life, got married, had kids, and started speaking about Jesus Christ. And they're like, get the heck out of here. We will ruin you.
Right.
And I just feel it for you. Like, I think that everything you went through, God wanted you to go through that. He wanted you to believe that he wasn't there. Like, like he wanted you to question whether or not any of it's real. And now it's because you're going to be such a voice for all of the young women that are watching this, who are on OnlyFans, who are giving themselves, who are crying at night, who are drinking to be able to go through with prostituting their bodies. Like a lot of these OnlyFans girls who also moonlight and they prostitute and they feel that they can never be anything else. And I think you are set up to be something else so that they know that it's possible. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I want to figure out something for these girls. Some type of nonprofit, something to help something. I want to figure it out. I have to figure it out. Maybe I could work with something that's already available so I don't have to start anything by myself again, but it has to be done in a certain way. So we'll see.
Interrupting again because I know that so many of you guys work so hard to support yourself and your families, but it seems as though you're taking a step back every month instead of moving forward. When the bills are higher than ever, you feel like what you bring in every month, you already have to swipe that away. And the credit card barely covers the difference. Debt just seems to keep adding up. But if you own a home, my friends at American Financing can help. American Financing is saving people just like you an average of $854 a month. Think about what you could do with an extra $800 every month, not having to worry about those minimum monthly payments. And even better, it will cost you absolutely nothing to find out how much you could be saving. All it takes is a quick call to American Financing, and if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. Call American Financing today and start your journey towards being credit card debt-free. The number is 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or, of course, you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. I also think you should have a podcast to talk to these people. And like I said, I feel like I'm going to see you in 4 years and you're going to be like, I'm a Christian, read my Bible. You're saying no, but I'm telling you, when the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit's already moving within you, just don't see it. And if someone had said to me when I had first, I was like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but it's different now. Like I'm like on fire for the Lord. I really am. And
you know what? I'll say this. I wish I was. I'll say that. I wish that I was. I miss the feeling of the comfort I had from God. But I don't believe in God. I just don't. And I don't know if I can go back to that because on my journey to atheism, a lot of time was mostly just my mom just scaring the living out of me when it comes to God and demons. And being a kid and saying, we got generational demons on our back. This whole family, we got generational demons. And I'm like, dude, I don't want a demon on my back. I don't want a demon around me. Like, I don't have demons. You can have demons. My aunt can have demons. My uncle can have demons. I don't have demons. And that, for me, was far too much as a child, which in turn made me an atheist. It's just too much for me, Candace.
I'm telling you, these are going to be your famous last words because I'm telling you, when you go a different path,
it's all too much for me.
It all starts with realizing one lie, and then you realize that there's only one author of lies, and that's Satan, and there's only one author of truth, and that's God.
I don't believe Satan is real. Yeah. I don't believe Satan is a thing.
You were up close and personal with him in Hollywood, like that, like what you're hearing when you hear Cardi talking about, I said goodbye to these demons, like she just is not realizing that's real demons. Like,
I mean, I resonate with that figuratively,
but it's not figurative. She's wrestling with real demons, right? And they want you to think it's figurative. And I don't even have to argue with this because I know I just know how the Holy Spirit moves. Like, I'm just like,
I mean, but Candace,
just when there was something about it.
I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and my prayers were not answered.
You don't think
when I was a Christian.
You don't think your prayers were answered. Somebody said to me, God never doesn't answer your prayer. He either says, not right now, or I have something better in store for you.
Maybe God answered my prayers by all this.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
I'm telling you. I
Okay,
think he was
Candace.
like, not right now. And I'm sorry to have to turn into a pastor right now, but
let me ask you a question. If I was Hindu or Muslim, you would still say the same thing?
I'm Christian. I want everybody to believe in Christ.
Okay.
Yeah. Christ is the Lord, Christ is the Savior. And you, like I said, I remember feeling like that. And when I was like, well, if God was real, he wouldn't allow this to happen to me. He wouldn't allow this to happen to me. And then when I opened myself up and realized, I'm like, oh, he put me in that scenario because he knew that I would be able to speak on this. He wanted me to go through this negative and this negative because he knew that this was the ultimate equation. And he's the great mathematician. And he was like, you need a plus here, a minus here, a minus here, a minus here. And so when you're hitting and you're seeing all these negatives in your life, you're just like, well, God can't be real because why would he do that? And then when you let go and let God.
I wish I had what you had.
No,
Kim.
but I didn't have it. Like, that's what I'm telling you.
I'm saying now, I wish that I had that because I feel like for me it's too late.
No, oh gosh.
I do.
Gosh,
I feel like it's too late.
It is not too late. And that's why you are at the beginning of a new part of your life right now. And it is required that 5 years from the day you come back on this podcast. Okay, 5 years to the day, I'm going to bring you back and I'm going to be running the old Amber Rose clips and it's going to be like, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. And we're going to be like, oh, I'm telling you, I have a feeling, I just feel I'm working all over.
Okay, if I were to ever believe in God, I don't think it would be the Christian God.
Well, God believes in you. There's only one God.
It would be maybe like a alien simulation God or something like that. Something like aliens from another planet.
You've just been up in Silicon Valley.
Us.
You've been up in Silicon Valley too much, listening to Elon Musk and AI podcasts too much. Bro, I'm gonna get you out of Hollywood. I'm gonna get you out of California in the South. Get you out of
I'm gonna come and visit more often. I'm gonna see what this place is about, and
And everyone who's watching this, the Christians are going to be praying for you. So it's a wrap.
Thank you, Christians.
Yeah, like when I get you baptized and confirmed in the Catholic.
Oh my goodness, girl, I'm scared.
Catholics at Catholic gang.
I'm scared. I'm scared of that.
But Amber,
I have to get unscared.
Yeah, there's
of
nothing.
Religion. It scares the
That's
living
just
out of me.
childhood, dealing with some trauma from your childhood, and that's not. Religion is not supposed to be scary in that way. Like,
well,
it's not.
I told you, praying used to give me a lot of comfort. That's why I let my children do it. But over time, I'm terrified of when I see the Bible, it scares me. It really does.
It's the Roman missile.
Yeah, I and maybe it is trauma that I have to work through, but I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be ready yet. And that's what I want you to give the permission is like, take it one day at a time and don't let anybody make you feel pressured to know the right thing, to say the right thing, and know that you are going to say the wrong thing. And I think people are scared of that. Like, if I'm not perfect immediately, like even me becoming Catholic, I still have anxiety because I'm so afraid. I understand, like, there are cameras everywhere. And now if I mess up, it's going to be a headline.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with that and go, listen, I'm not going to get it perfect. And I pray for grace. I ask people publicly for grace. And I'm asking people that are listening to this to just give her some grace, give her some space. It took a lot for her to say even one true thing. And I hope you guys watching this, that you've heard her heart in the way that I heard it on the phone and realized this is a real person and she does not have it all figured out right now. And she may never have it all figured out because I don't have it all figured out right now. But it's all about whether or not you are willing and brave enough to change your mind and evolve when you realize that you've gotten something wrong.
For sure.
So Amber, we are all praying for you. And I'll see you back
Thank
here
you, Candace.
in exactly 5 years to the day. So I can
we shall
say,
see.
haha, told you so.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This was fun.